Crisis. The stellar research vessel Luminance drifted helplessly through the void, its quantum drives reduced to smoldering ruins after an encounter with an anomaly at the edge of known space. Commander Vixka stood at the bridge's observation dome, her crystalline form refracting the light of distant stars as she contemplated their dire situation. The ship's crew of 15 represented some of the finest minds from the Galactic Scientific Coalition, but now they were facing extinction in the cold embrace of space. Life support systems at 28% capacity, Commander reported Chief Engineer Melnar, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with anxiety. Even with minimal consumption, we have less than 3 standard cycles remaining. Vixka's crystalline structure dimmed slightly, the equivalent of a human frown. Their distress beacons have been broadcasting for days, but in this uncharted region of space, the chances of rescue were astronomically low. The Coalition's nearest outpost was light years away, and their communications array had been damaged in the same incident that destroyed their drives. Status of the auxiliary power cells, she asked, though she already knew the answer. Depleted, Commander. We've channeled everything into maintaining life support and basic functions. The bridge fell silent save for the subtle hum of failing systems. Their mission had been simple: study the mysterious energy signatures detected at the galaxy's edge. Instead, they'd encountered something that defied their understanding. A tear in spacetime that had nearly torn their ship apart. Commander, the sudden excitement in Navigation Officer Zolray's voice cut through the gloom. I'm detecting unusual transmissions. They're primitive by our standards, but they're definitely artificial. Vixka moved swiftly to the navigation console, her crystalline form catching the light. Source: a solar system, approximately 2 light days from our position. The signals appear to be broadcasting communications, entertainment. Wait. Zolray's tentacles worked rapidly across the holographic interface. There's a planet, 3rd from their star, and it's teeming with life. Technological civilization. Hope sparked through the bridge crew. An undiscovered technological species might mean salvation, but it also meant responsibility. First contact protocols were clear: no interference with developing civilizations. Yet their situation was desperate. Show me, Vixka commanded. The holographic display filled with images captured from the planet's broadcasts. The crew watched in fascination as scenes from an alien world played before them. Vehicles powered by combustion engines, buildings reaching toward the sky, and most importantly, the inhabitants themselves. Bipedal, soft-bodied creatures that moved with surprising grace. They call themselves humans, Zolray reported, processing more data. And their planet is Earth. They've achieved spaceflight, though primitive by our standards. Their technology level is interesting. Uneven development. They've mastered some aspects of quantum mechanics, but haven't yet achieved faster-than-light travel. Vixka made her decision. Prepare a first contact package. Keep it simple. Universal mathematical constants, basic atomic structures, and our distress situation. We'll broadcast on their most commonly used frequencies. Commander, Science Officer Renlox interjected, her floating gas cloud form swirling with concern. This violates at least 7 different Coalition protocols regarding first contact. Noted, Vixka replied firmly. And when we survive this, I'll gladly face the consequences. Begin transmission. The message was sent, broadcast in simple binary code that any technological civilization should be able to decode. Then they waited, watching as their life support systems continued their slow decline. The response came faster than anyone expected. Commander, Zolray's voice carried a mix of disbelief and excitement. Multiple ships are launching from the planet's surface. They're accelerating toward our position. The crew gathered around the holographic display, watching as several vessels broke free from Earth's atmosphere. Their design was crude by Coalition standards, chemical rockets and primitive radiation shielding, but they moved with purpose. They're broadcasting, Communications Officer Telmar announced. The message that filled the bridge was simple, transmitted in the same binary format they had used. Stellar Research Vessel Luminance. This is Earth Space Command. Hold position. Help is coming. Repeat. Hold position. Help is coming. Vixka felt her crystalline structure vibrate with emotion as she addressed her crew. It seems we're about to make history in more ways than one. Prepare for first contact protocols. And she paused, her form brightening slightly. Let's hope these humans are as resourceful as their quick response suggests. The crew watched as the Earth vessels grew closer on their sensors. None of them could have predicted that this desperate call for help would not only save their lives, but change the course of galactic history forever. These humans, these newcomers to the cosmic stage, were about to show the Coalition something they had never seen before, and the galaxy would never be the same. The approach of the Earth vessels was unlike anything the Luminance's crew had ever witnessed. While Coalition ships would have made precise, calculated maneuvers, these human vessels moved with an almost aggressive efficiency, burning their chemical engines far longer than seemed prudent. "They're matching our relative velocity," reported Zolrai, tentacles dancing across the controls. "Their approach pattern is unconventional, but effective." The largest of the Earth ships, nearly half the size of the Luminance, took position alongside them. Its hull bore the markings ESS Prometheus in stark white letters against dark metal. A new transmission came through. "Luminance, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Prometheus. We're preparing to dock. Our engineering teams are standing by. Please confirm your atmospheric requirements and any immediate medical needs." Commander Vixka was struck by the directness of the communication. No formal protocols, no diplomatic preamble, just immediate focus on the emergency at hand. "Transmit our atmospheric data and current ship status," she ordered. The humans' response was swift. Within hours, they had established a sealed corridor between the vessels, and the first human engineering team entered the Luminance. The crew watched in amazement as the humans, clad in environmental suits, moved through the ship with purpose. The human engineers' approach to the Luminance's problems defied conventional wisdom. Where Coalition engineers would have spent days analyzing the quantum drive's failure patterns, the humans immediately began implementing temporary solutions. There, bypassing entire systems, Melnar reported, his bioluminescence flickering with a mixture of horror and fascination. "Using their own power systems to supplement ours. It's crude, but it's working. Life support is stabilizing." The human team's leader, Chief Engineer James Rodriguez, explained their approach through the translator. "Your quantum drive's shot, but we can get you moving enough to reach Earth orbit. We got better facilities there for proper repairs." Vixka observed the humans' work with growing interest. Their solutions weren't elegant by Coalition standards. They involved jury-rigged connections, temporary patches, and what the humans called workarounds, but they were undeniably effective. "Your species," she addressed Rodriguez, "seems very comfortable with improvisation." The human engineer laughed, a sound that startled several crew members. "Ma'am, sorry, Commander, humanity's greatest advances came from improvising. When something breaks, you either fix it with what you have or make something new. Simple as that." As the hours passed, more human ships arrived, bringing supplies and additional support. The Luminance's crew found themselves increasingly amazed by their rescuers. These humans showed no fear of their alien appearances, treating the crystalline form of Vixka, the gaseous cloud of Renlox, and the bioluminescent tentacles of Melnar with professional courtesy and even friendly curiosity. During a brief rest period, Science Officer Renlox approached Commander Vixka privately. "Their technological level shouldn't allow for this," she whispered, her gaseous form swirling anxiously. "They've barely mastered fusion power, yet they're adapting their systems to interface with our quantum technology. It's unprecedented." "Perhaps," Vixka replied, watching the human engineer cheerfully teaching Melnar how to use something called duct tape for emergency repairs. We've been measuring advancement by the wrong metrics. The humans' ingenuity became even more apparent when they faced a critical problem with the Luminance's navigation systems. The quantum computers that usually handled stellar calculations were offline, and the backup systems were failing. Captain Chen proposed a solution that seemed absurd. We'll network our ship's computers with yours. They're not as advanced, but we can parallel process the calculations across multiple systems. It won't be pretty, but it'll work. The coalition would have deemed such a jury-rigged solution too risky, but the humans implemented it with confident efficiency. They called it good enough for government work, a phrase that both confused and amused the Luminance's crew. As the makeshift fleet prepared for its journey to Earth, Vixka received a private message from Captain Chen. "Commander, once we get your ship safely to orbit, there's something my government needs to discuss with you. We've detected some concerning activities at the edge of our solar system, activities that match the energy signature your ship was investigating." The commander's crystalline form dimmed slightly as she processed this information. Their encounter with the spatial anomaly might not have been an accident after all. But before she could pursue that troubling thought, a commotion erupted in engineering. One of the human engineers had managed to partially reactivate the quantum drive. Not enough for full operation, but far more than anyone had thought possible with their level of technology. When asked how, the engineer shrugged and said, "Sometimes you just need to percussive maintenance," which, as the Luminance's crew learned, meant hitting it in exactly the right spot. As they began their slow journey toward Earth, Vixka realized that this encounter was more than just a rescue. Humanity's response to their distress call had demonstrated something remarkable. A species that combined determination, creativity, and adaptability in ways the Coalition had never seen before. What troubled her was the growing certainty that they might need these qualities sooner than anyone expected. The anomaly that had damaged their ship, the strange readings the humans had detected, they all pointed to something ominous lurking at the edges of known space. But for now, as she watched humans and her crew working side by side, trading stories and techniques, she allowed herself to feel something she hadn't expected: hope. Whatever challenges lay ahead, perhaps this unlikely partnership was exactly what both their peoples needed. The journey to Earth took 6 days, a voyage that should have been impossible with humanity's current technology. Yet through a combination of the Luminance's partially restored systems and the networked power of Earth's vessels, they managed it. As they approached the blue planet, Commander Vixka couldn't shake the growing sense of unease about what they would have to reveal to their rescuers. Earth's orbital stations came into view, a collection of modular structures that, while primitive by Coalition standards, showed remarkable ingenuity in their design. The Luminance was guided into a massive orbital dock that the humans had hastily modified to accommodate the alien vessel's unique configuration. "Welcome to Earth Space Station Alpha," Captain Chen announced as the docking procedure completed. "We've prepared secure facilities for this discussion." The meeting chamber aboard the station reflected humanity's rapid adaptation to their new reality. Hastily installed atmospheric controls created zones suitable for each species, while holographic interfaces, crude but functional, facilitated communication. Around the table sat representatives from Earth's major nations, along with the Luminance's senior staff. "Before we begin," Vixka addressed the assembled humans, her crystalline form casting prismatic patterns across the chamber, "you should know that what we're about to share violates numerous Coalition protocols. But given what your sensors have detected, we no longer have the luxury of following proper procedures." Security footage from the Luminance's final moments before the quantum drive failure played above the table. The images showed a massive tear in spacetime, but it wasn't natural. The edges were too precise, the energy signature too regular. "We call them the Void Makers," Science Officer Renlox explained, her gaseous form darkening. "Though that's a rough translation. They're not supposed to exist. They're supposed to be just stories, myths from the early days of Coalition exploration. The humans listened intently as Renlox continued. The Voidmakers were an ancient species that had allegedly mastered the ability to create artificial rifts in spacetime. According to Coalition legends, they had once ruled vast swaths of the galaxy through fear, using these rifts to destroy any civilization they deemed a potential threat. But they vanished months ago, Melnar added, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with anxiety. Or so we thought. The anomaly that damaged our ship. It bears all the energy signatures described in the ancient records. Captain Chen leaned forward. The activity we detected at the edge of our system. You're saying it's them? Yes, Vix-K confirmed. They're returning, and they're methodically testing the defenses of various star systems. Your world's relative isolation may have protected you so far, but that won't last. The human representatives exchanged glances. Dr. Elena Martinez, Earth's leading physicist, spoke up. These rifts, they're essentially controlled tears in spacetime, like artificial black holes. Similar, Renlox replied, but more precise. They can be used to sever supply lines, isolate planets, or, her form swirled darkly, remove entire star systems from existence. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had barely begun its journey into space, and now they faced a threat that even the advanced coalition feared. Admiral Zhang of Earth Space Command broke the silence. You mentioned they target potential threats. What defines a threat to them? Innovation, Vix-K answered. Creativity, the ability to adapt and advance rapidly. They eliminate species that show signs of becoming unpredictable. Like humans, Captain Chen said quietly. Exactly. Your response to our distress call demonstrated precisely the qualities they fear. You solved problems in ways we wouldn't have considered. You adapted advanced technology to work with your own systems through sheer determination and creativity. By their standards, humanity is extremely dangerous. Admiral Zhang's expression hardened. Then we'll prove them right. The next few hours were filled with intense discussion. The humans, instead of reacting with fear, began immediately strategizing. They proposed ideas that ranged from the brilliant to the seemingly impossible, but all shared a common theme. Humanity would not go quietly. We need to warn the coalition, Vix-K insisted, but Captain Chen raised her hand. With respect, Commander, if these Voidmakers are as powerful as you say, warning the coalition might be exactly what they're waiting for. They'll expect official channels, proper protocols. They won't expect, she smiled grimly, human ingenuity. Dr. Martinez had been quietly working on calculations throughout the discussion. The rifts they create, they follow specific physical principles. They can be detected, measured. Yes, Renlox confirmed, but understanding them and stopping them are very different challenges. Maybe, Dr. Martinez replied, her eyes gleaming with the light of discovery. But humans have a long history of turning our understanding of physics into unexpected weapons. And we're very, very good at finding weaknesses in supposedly perfect systems. As the meeting continued, Vix-K observed the humans with growing amazement. Where the coalition would have responded with careful analysis and diplomatic initiatives, humanity was already preparing for war. Not out of aggression, but out of a fierce determination to protect not only themselves but others who might be threatened. Captain Chen outlined the beginnings of a plan that made Vix-K's crystalline structure vibrate with both terror and admiration. It was audacious, probably impossible, and exactly the kind of thinking that made the Voidmakers fear species like humanity. As the Earth's sun set on the horizon behind them, casting the station in golden light, Vix-K realized that the galaxy's greatest hope might lie not with the advanced civilizations of the coalition, but with this young, resourceful species that refused to accept impossible odds. The next 3 weeks transformed Earth's orbital facilities into a hive of frenzied activity. Humanity's response to the Voidmaker threat was characteristic of their species. Instead of panic, they channeled their fear into determination. The plan they developed was dubbed Operation Sanctuary, and its audacity left the Luminance's crew alternating between admiration and horror. "You want to do what?" Commander Vixka's crystalline form flickered with disbelief as Dr. Martinez explained the core of their strategy. "Create our own controlled rifts," the physicist replied, her hands moving through holographic equations. "Your ship's data shows these void makers use precise tiers in spacetime. We might not be able to match their technology, but we can make the space around Earth too unstable for their rifts to form properly." The human scientists had taken the Luminance's quantum drive research and combined it with their own understanding of theoretical physics. They weren't trying to replicate the void maker's technology. They were trying to counter it by making space itself uncooperative. Captain Chen's voice came through the station's comm system. "Dr. Martinez, the first test is ready." They gathered in the observation deck to watch. A small unmanned vessel moved into position several thousand kilometers from the station. The device it carried was a hybrid of coalition quantum technology and human ingenuity, or quantum jury rigging, as the engineers called it. "Initiating sequence," Dr. Martins announced. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to shiver. A small, controlled distortion appeared, nowhere near as precise as the void maker's rifts, but stable enough to serve their purposes. "It worked," Melnar whispered, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with excitement. "But creating a defensive network of these distortions around a whole planet will take every bit of power and resources we have," Admiral Zhang finished. "But we've run the numbers. We can do it." The next phase of Operation Sanctuary revealed another uniquely human trait: their ability to unite in the face of extinction-level threats. Countries that had been rivals for centuries pooled their resources. Private space companies redirected their entire production capacity to building the defensive network. The Luminance's crew worked alongside the humans, sharing their knowledge while learning from humanity's unconventional approaches. Melnar had taken to carrying what he called his human emergency kit, a collection of duct tape, WD-40, and other tools that coalition engineers would never have considered using on advanced technology. But it wasn't just about defense. Humanity was preparing countermeasures. "The void makers rely on precision," Captain Chen explained during a strategy session. "Their rifts need stable space-time to form properly. So we're going to give them chaos instead." The humans had adapted their nuclear arsenals, combining them with quantum field generators. The weapons couldn't match the void maker's power, but they could disrupt their ability to create stable rifts. It was like fighting a master surgeon by making their operating room shake. Crude, but potentially effective. 3 weeks into the preparations, the sensors detected movement at the edge of the solar system. "Multiple signatures," Zolrai reported, tentacles moving rapidly across the controls. "Energy patterns matched the rift that damaged our ship. They're here." Admiral Zhang's voice remained steady as she issued orders. "All stations, initiate Operation Sanctuary." This is not a drill. The defensive network activated. Hundreds of human-made quantum distortions created a web of unstable spacetime around Earth. It wasn't elegant, but it didn't need to be. It just needed to work. The first Void Maker ship appeared, a massive construct of impossible geometries that hurt the eyes to look at. It began generating a rift, but the distorted space around Earth interfered with the process. The rift flickered, destabilized, and collapsed. "They're adapting," Renlox warned, her gaseous form swirling anxiously, adjusting their rift frequencies. "Good," Captain Chen responded with grim satisfaction. "Let's show them what else we've learned." Earth's counterattack began. Modified missiles carrying quantum nuclear hybrid warheads launched from hidden positions around the solar system. They didn't target the Void Maker ships directly. Instead, they detonated in carefully calculated patterns, creating waves of distortion that disrupted the aliens' ability to maintain stable rifts. The Void Maker's response was one of apparent confusion. Their tactics had always relied on the precision of their rifts. Without them, They faced something they hadn't encountered in eons, a fair fight. But the true surprise came from an unexpected quarter. The quantum distortions humanity had created were having an effect no one had predicted. They were acting as a beacon, visible across vast distances to anyone who knew how to look. "Commander," Zol Ray called out, "I'm detecting new signatures. Coalition ships, dozens of them, approaching at full quantum speed." The coalition ships had picked up the distortions and recognized them as a deliberate pattern, a cry for help in the language of quantum physics itself. Humanity hadn't just created a defense, they'd inadvertently created an impossible-to-ignore distress signal. As coalition warships began appearing around the solar system, Captain Chen turned to Commander Vikska with a slight smile. "Looks like humanity isn't the only species that answers distress calls." The battle for Earth was about to enter its final phase, and the galaxy would never be the same. The space around Earth erupted into a battle unlike anything in recorded history. Coalition warships, their quantum drives humming with power, engaged the Voidmaker vessels while humanity's improvised defenses continued to disrupt the enemy's ability to create stable rifts. "Multiple coalition battle groups entering the system," reported Zol Ray from the Luminance's restored bridge. "The Voidmakers are being forced to fight conventionally." Commander Vikska watched as humanity's defensive strategy proved its worth. The Voidmakers, accustomed to simply erasing their opponents from existence, found themselves trapped in a chaotic battlefield of humanity's making. Their ships, while powerful, had relied so long on their rift technology that their conventional weapons seemed almost an afterthought. "They're retreating from sectors 3 and 4, Captain Chen announced from the Prometheus. "The quantum disruption fields are holding." But the Voidmakers weren't finished. Their flagship, a massive construct that seemed to bend reality around itself, moved into position above Earth's northern hemisphere. Energy readings spiked to unprecedented levels. "They're attempting to generate a massive rift." Dr. Martinez's voice was tense but controlled. "They're trying to overcome our disruption field through sheer power." Admiral Zhang's response was immediate. "Initiate Protocol Omega. All ships, execute on my mark." This was the contingency humanity had prepared for, the option they hoped they wouldn't need to use. Every quantum disruption generator in Earth's defense network began to power up simultaneously, while coalition ships moved to create a containment perimeter. "What are you doing?" Vikska demanded, her crystalline form vibrating with concern. "Fighting fire with fire," Captain Chen replied grimly. "Or in this case, fighting chaos with more chaos." "Dr. Martinez, you're up." The physicist's voice was steady as she began the countdown. "Initiating quantum resonance cascade in 5, 4, 3. The Voidmaker's rift began to form, a massive tear in the fabric of space-time. But as it grew, humanity's defense network responded. Instead of trying to prevent the rift, they amplified it, feeding it with their own quantum disruptions in a precisely calculated pattern. 2, 1. Resonance cascade active. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The Voidmaker's rift began to twist and warp, caught in a feedback loop of quantum instabilities. The aliens tried to abort the process, but it was too late. Their own weapon had become a trap. "The rift is becoming self-sustaining," Renlox reported, her gaseous form swirling with a mixture of terror and awe. "It's creating a quantum singularity." The Voidmaker flagship, caught in its own distorted rift, began to break apart. Other enemy vessels, attempting to assist, found themselves pulled into the growing anomaly. Within minutes, the entire Voidmaker fleet had either retreated or been consumed by the very force they had wielded as a weapon for so long. As the quantum singularity stabilized and then began to collapse in on itself, a profound silence fell over the combined human and coalition fleet. The silence was broken by Admiral Zhang's steady voice. "All ships report status. Begin rescue operations for any damaged vessels." In the aftermath of the battle, as coalition and human ships worked together to secure the solar system, Commander Vixka found herself in a conference room aboard Earth Space Station Alpha. The station's observation window showed the Earth below, peaceful and blue, while repair crews worked on damaged ships in the distance. "Your species," she addressed the assembled human leaders, "has achieved something unprecedented. Not just victory over the Voidmakers, but a fundamental change in how the galaxy will view emerging civilizations." Captain Chen smiled slightly. "We just did what humans always do: adapt, improvise, and overcome." Perhaps Vixka's crystalline form brightened. "That is exactly what the galaxy needs more of. The Coalition Council has requested an emergency session. They want to discuss accelerated membership for Earth." The implications were clear. Humanity had proven itself not just capable of joining galactic civilization, but essential to its future. Their unique combination of creativity, determination, and ability to unite in crisis had changed everything. Dr. Martinez was already working with coalition scientists, exploring applications of the quantum disruption technology beyond defense. The human tendency to turn weapons into tools of peace was yet another trait that impressed their new allies. "There will be challenges ahead," Admiral Zhang noted. "The Voidmakers may return, and there are bound to be other threats we haven't yet imagined." "True," Vixka agreed, "but thanks to humanity's response to a simple distress call, the galaxy is better prepared to face those challenges together." As the meeting concluded, Captain Chen approached Commander Vixka privately. "You know," she said with a slight smile, "when we received your distress signal, we never imagined it would lead to all this." "Neither did we," Vixka replied, her crystalline form creating a rainbow of colors in the starlight. "But perhaps that's the greatest lesson here. Sometimes the most important discoveries come not from careful planning, but from simply being willing to help others in need." Above them, Coalition and human ships continued their joint patrols, a visible symbol of how one act of compassion had transformed the future of two civilizations. The stars seemed brighter somehow, full of new possibilities and hope. The galaxy had changed forever, not through the force of weapons or the power of advanced technology, but through the simple human qualities of courage, creativity, and compassion. As Earth prepared to take its place among the stars, one thing was certain: the future would be more interesting with humanity in it.